All right. Speaking of the Indians, they lost today. 2 wins before, 20 runs total in those 2 wins, but they were held to 2 runs today, 4-2. They just didn't have it offensively or defensively, and Bieber pitched pretty well. But I know you wanted to talk about this game and where the Indians are headed.
Yeah, and I can't be accused of an immediate recency bias because I'm talking about this after a loss. You might have said if the Indians won today, oh, you're just reacting to 3 straight wins over the Rangers and whatnot. But my point I'm kind of been grinding on is why in this town do I get the sense that people are saying, well, this team isn't suited for playoff contention, therefore they shouldn't worry about trying to make the playoffs this year.
Okay, just write it off.
Since when is that the threshold? You have to be worthy of making the playoffs all of a sudden.
If you make the playoffs, you're worthy. If they call you on Sunday night, the last Sunday of the season, and they say you go and you play the Boston Red Sox on Monday or Tuesday, that's the invitation you're going after.
Right, and I think back to the 8-8 Browns that made the playoffs. Were we complaining when they made the playoffs?
No.
No. The Indians, as you pointed out, in 97, they go to the World Series on an 87 or 86 win team. I think it was 86-75.
Yeah.
I don't get it. They're right in the thick of the wild card. I don't think they win the division. I think it's too big of a deficit to overcome. But as you pointed out in the intro, they play tomato cans coming up. Why not want your team to make the playoffs? And this is not a broken down group of veterans where you say, oh, they're the Wheeze kids, you're trying to squeeze one more playoff berth out of them. The Indians are not set up that way. Their roster is not full of aging, decrepit guys. They don't have to trade a lot to still be viable. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
when
even
you talk about veterans, you're talking about Carlos Gonzalez and Hanley Ramirez, who didn't make it.
Yes. If this team had been full of the Carlos Gonzalez's and the Hanley Ramirez's and the Juan Uribes and those types, and you're saying, oh, they're in the wild card chase, let's try to squeeze another drop out of them. That's one thing. But this is a team that has a blend. It's more young than old. And the pieces that you're going to sell off because this team's not worthy of the playoffs, it's really only 2 guys, Bauer and Hand.
All right.
Kluber's not marketable right now because of his injury, but Bauer and Hand are about all you're going to be able to sell.
Right,
so you mean to tell me those 2 trades are suddenly going to make you on par with the Yankees? And one more thing, sorry to stop you from making a point on your show, but when are the Indians ever going to run with the Yankees
and
the Red Sox
never.
In terms of payroll?
No.
So if you think, we're just going to sit around and rebuild this Indians team to one day match the Yankees and the Red Sox in terms of their available spending money, you're crazy.
No, and how about this, getting back to the possible trade? The more I think about it, you could trade Trevor Bauer and get some offensive pieces because you've got more depth at the pitching rotation than anybody else maybe in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
So if you lose Bauer...
You could survive a trade of Trevor Bauer. I don't like this bullpen without Mr. Hand, and you have him signed to a club-friendly deal.
Right.
Or at least the perception, of course. It's all in the eye of the beholder. Maybe Hand thinks he's incredibly well paid, but it certainly looks like a club-friendly deal. You got him for 2 more years after this. But if you lose Bauer and you get a couple sticks in return, next year you still have the ability to run Kluber out there, Bieber, Pletko, and I'm not in order of preference, by the way. I'm Plesac, possibly Carrasco. I don't count on him this year, but you hope next year. And Bieber. Did I mention Bieber already? So there's quality in this rotation even without Bauer.
How about this? Let's say this season is a wash and you blow it off, it didn't work.
Okay.
If you thought at the beginning of the year or at spring training, if you thought you could still handle Minnesota and Chicago and Kansas City and Detroit, then why couldn't you just move it up a year and go get them next year? In other words, why would you unload the team if you think the team, or at least the heart of this team, is still good enough to win? Why wouldn't you just say, okay, now we'll turn our attention to 2020?
Tremendous point. You're absolutely right. And here's another thing. You hear, well, the division needs to be more of the goal than the wild card because you only have one team you have to run down in the division. Well, sorry, too big of a lead, okay? Wild card, big old pig pile. Oh, too many teams. Really? Do you take the Los Angeles Angels seriously? Do you think that the Oakland Athletics are automatically better than Cleveland? I know, really good year last year. I know they beat up on them this year in the season series. But if I'm the Indians, I don't concede the A's, concede that I'm worse than the A's. That takes care of the two teams that are challenging you in the West. Nobody's challenging you in the Central for a wild card because the Twins have the division. And you move to the East. Yes, Red Sox, formidable, looking better and better by the day. Defending World Series champs. Yes, Rays and Yankees really good. But they're in a tougher division, top to bottom.
Yeah, they're going to play each
Certainly front four, and they have to play each other more. So the Red Sox and Rays and Yankees play better competition more than the Indians do, which gives a Central Division team like the Indians a chance to win that wild card.